Welcome to Bowser Sports, and today we're going to recap a busy NHL trade deadline, how it specifically impacts the Pittsburgh Penguins. Today, the Pens made a few trades. They started off this week trading the Vincent Desharnais to the Sharks for a 2028 fifth-round pick. Then they traded Michael Bunting and a 26 fourth to the Predators for Luke Schenn and Tommy Novak. Kyle Dubas subsequently flips Novak to Winnipeg and gets a 2026 second and a 2027 four. Beauvillier lands in Washington for a 25 second. The Devils acquire Cody Glass and John Gruden. The Penguins get minor league forward Chase Stillman, power forward prospect out of Kelowna Rockets Max Graham, who's out for the year with an injury, 2000 and a 2027 third. And then the last deal that actually is of this recording that hasn't been confirmed, what has been reported as this time and not specifically given out by Dubas at his press conference this afternoon was, they traded a fifth round pick, I believe, based on the Pens press release saying the team would have 31 picks over the next 3 years. That would lead in that they would have 12 in this draft coming up in 25. That leads me to believe then the 28 draft is what the fifth round pick is coming to. So in return, kind of a strange deal, but the Pens ended up picking up a right defenseman Connor Timmins and a fourth line, extra forward Connor Dewar. So we're going to take a look here as a result of the deals. So from a salary cap perspective, the cap space for remainder of the season really doesn't matter. As long as you keep under your cap space, you get 4 recalls. The Pens ended up not moving anyone down to pay for them to be eligible to play in the AHL playoffs. So these are the 23-man roster unless there's an injury. Likely expect all those players down in Wilkes-Barre in the AHL to gel together and make that run for the playoffs. So the big thing here is the next couple of seasons where Crosby is around with his final 3-year deal. He's looking at a 20, Kyle Dubas said he's looking at a $27.2 million cap space, 55.7 the year after, and 78.7 after that. So the Pens have a lot of cap space coming to them, and so we shall see what happens with Dubas's ability to potentially try to, using all his draft picks. One is to stock the cupboard from a prospect perspective. As you can see here in the next 3 drafts this year, they've got potentially 2 if New York's and the Rangers happen to be finish the year, with a 14th or better record. Pens get that pick. So it's, kind of questionable what you want. I think the sooner you get players into your system and get there, you get those guys. I think there's an opportunity, if the Pens are in that top 20, the 14 to 20 range, they can get a good player. Obviously, next year's draft is going to be is thought to be deeper, which is maybe why we saw so many NHL teams just trading away draft picks. It was really shocking to see. I'm not sure I've ever seen a year that many players got moves for draft picks of that nature for the players that we're talking about. Um, for example, the Pens flip Luke Schenn and get a second and a fourth back. Like the value of the picks the Pens got for the relative, I think, quality of the players. They did really good from that perspective. So here you got, from the forward perspective, coming up next season, you've got Tomasino, Benstrom, and Dewar as restricted free agents, and then Mboko Amama is a unrestricted free agent. On the defensive side, they didn't move Grudzik, so he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Shea as well And then likely probably going to see P.O. Joseph not tendered again, so he's probably going to end up being an unrestricted free agent if I had to guess. And then Connor Timmins. On the goaltending side, the Pens are still pretty well set from an NHL goalie cost perspective. Hopefully over the summer, maybe the Pens do something with Nagelkovic or Jari to move one of those guys out so that either it's Morozov or Joel Blomqvist gets a shot next year. So we'll see there. We should see some fireworks, I would expect, in the 25 draft, since a lot of teams ended up getting a lot of opportunity to accumulate assets. And so the Pens should be pretty busy in this first couple of rounds to try to use those picks to acquire, players with all that cap space. I would think the Pens are still going to, attempt to, get a player or two. I still believe from a prospect perspective, McGroarty, Tristan Braz, and Ville Koivunen and Vasily Ponarov, those four are probably going to get, competition opportunities next year. And then, from a defensive side, Pickering for sure probably is going to be a guy who should probably move up, next year into a second or third pairing opportunity, depending on, what they do decide to acquire here. So that is what we're looking at from, a cap perspective. The draft, they've got a lot of picks, 31 in the next 3 years. I think it's the most in the entire NHL per the Pens press, at least at that time. So we're going to see what happens there. And then as for tonight, we've, hey, by the way, there's a game, right? So you've got the Penguins playing the Vegas Golden Knights, yeah. And so the Pens are going to kind of be, limited a little bit. Dewar and Timmins obviously won't be in. They'll meet the team up, later. And so we've got, most likely you'll probably see the first line remain intact. I would think that the Pens would just want to move Tommy Novak into that second line left wing role, even though I think he's a center. I think getting him up there with Malkin and Tomasino and really load up your top two lines, because I don't think it makes a lot of sense putting Novak into a third line with Heinen and Benstrom. And then your fourth line will probably be, as we've seen from, for a few times this year, it's going to be more defensive based. On defense, I don't really see too much changing other than, Grays and Kolyachonok was probably going to, one of them will play the left or right, depending on where they feel comfortable. I'd probably put Grays on the left if it was me and put Kolyachonok onto the right side. He's a more mobile defenseman. Obviously, he's younger, though, and so, we'll kind of see what they decide there. And, I think the goaltending will be, what we've expected now with the veterans who are going to get their opportunities with the youngsters, getting the all-important opportunity in the minors for a playoff run. So that's what we have from a projected lineup for tonight's game. Hopefully you enjoyed this quick little recap episode to kind of get you caught up on the status of the franchise after today's trade deadline. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like, drop us a comment, and please subscribe. Until next time, keep your head up and the stick on the ice.